So by now you should have read the slides that accompany this lesson and be happy with the idea that a chemical formula is a way of representing chemical substances. So for example, instead of having to write the word water, we can represent it by using its formula of H2O. What we really want you to be able to do is to be able to look at any formula provided to you and be able to confidently identify the elements that are contained within that formula and to be able to identify the number of atoms of those elements in that formula as well. It's a really good skill to know, and it does take a little bit of practice, but once you have nailed it, it does make other parts of science that much more easier for you. So I'm just going to show you a way that I would approach acquiring this skill, and all you really need is a pen and a periodic table. Don't forget, folks, you do have a periodic table in your planners in the pink pages. So we'll start with this one here, which is KBr. So the first thing I would do is I would always underline the capital letters within my formula. So I have two capital letters. I have a capital K and a capital B. Now this tells me immediately that I have two different elements within this substance, and so it allows me to separate them out to make identification easier. So I'm going to write those underneath. So I have capital K and I have a capital B that does have a lowercase r beside it, so I'm also going to put that in. Then I need to be able to identify, well, what does that K actually represent? And this is where you need to have your periodic table to hand. So I'm looking for a capital K, and here it is here on the periodic table. And that tells me that that stands for potassium. So I can write that K is potassium. I then go back to the periodic table because I'm now looking for a capital B lowercase r. So it's not there, it's not there. Here it is here. I have capital B lowercase r, and that tells me it is bromine. Sorry, see it there, bromine. So I now know that within this formula of KBr, I have potassium and bromine. Now, if I go back to the formula, I can see really clearly that there are no numbers present within this formula. If there are no small numbers present, it simply means that you have one atom of each of those elements. So I have one atom of potassium and I have one atom of bromine, and that is that one done. Now if I move on to the middle one, I have NaCl. This is quite a familiar substance. It is table salt. So we want to know then what elements are actually contained within NaCl. So I go back to my first step, which is to underline the capital letters. So I have a capital N and a capital C. Two capitals tells me there are two individual elements that I can write out underneath to make identification of them easier. So I have capital N that has a lowercase a beside it, so I'm going to put that in. And I have a capital C which has a lowercase l beside it as well, so I'm going to put that one in. So then I use my periodic table to identify the elements. So I'm looking for a capital N, lowercase a, which is here, and that stands for sodium. Then I have a capital C, lowercase l, which is here, and that tells me it is chlorine. Now I go back to the formula and I can see very clearly there are no small numbers present. So that simply means that I have one atom for each of those elements. So I have one atom of sodium, and I have 1 atom of chlorine. Then if we do the last one is slightly different, and you'll see, I'm sure you've spotted it already, but let's just go back to our first step. So we want to underline our capital letters. So I have capital Z and capital F. So I have a capital Z and a lowercase n, and then I have a capital F. So I have my 2 capital letters, and now I have 2 individual elements within this formula. I'm going to go to my periodic table to identify these elements. So capital Z and lowercase n is here, and that represents zinc. And then capital F represents fluorine. Now this formula is different to the other 2 insofar as it has a number present. So the number is sitting directly beside the F. So it only applies to the F. There is no small number beside the zinc. If I draw a little box around it, you can see there is no small number there. So that simply means that there is 1 atom of zinc, but there is 2 of fluorine. So you have to be really careful about applying the small numbers. The small number only applies to the letter it is sitting directly beside. So there is nothing beside the Zn, so that means there's only 1 atom of it, but there is a 2 beside the F, so that there are 2 atoms of fluorine. Okay. Right, that is the end of this quick video. There are more tasks on the slides to follow.